Totally forgot the plan. Got all obsessed with clickbaiting you guys with her. And I definitely forgot. I'm not supposed to be wearing a sweatshirt. I'm not a frumpy dad bod podcaster. I'm a former athlete, cool guy who likes video games. So who doesn't play video games anymore because it's bad for your dopamine. But Mario Bros, clickbaiting with the girl, here to talk Correa, baseball things. First and foremost, Giants, poor Giants. Signed Aaron Judge for 9 minutes. Only the big old New York comes and swoops him away. Signed Correa, only that some stupid injury fakes and comes and swoops him away again to the New York Ball Club. So you guys are so happy that New York balked. Not only did you lose a superstar to each New York team, but now you can always say, oh, it wasn't our fault for not signing Correa because the Mets didn't do it either. I hate to break it to you, Giants fans. You guys still messed up. Because if you look at the contract he signed, he didn't sign the behemoth 10-year deal. He signed a 6-year deal with 4 extra alternatives for an extra $70 million. So if he is good, if he's decent through that age, they can ink the 4 for 70, which is solid, $17.5 million average. Or if he's tremendous, then you lost out by getting Correa, and he'll sign a bigger deal with the Twins or someone else. But the main reason you guys messed up with their should we or should we not Correa is in the days you were signing him, you weren't negotiating with Dansby Swanson and other prospects or like potential people you could have, and you missed out completely. That being said, as I was telling my Giants fan friends, I used to live in Seattle, so I'm a big fan of Mitch Haniger. He's a super talented guy. His one knock is always getting hurt, but it's not like a baseball player, a pitcher who throws and keeps hurting their elbow. Like if an outfielder gets hurt, like Bryce Harper keeps getting hurt, those are probably like random injuries. You can just like DH him and he'll be fine. Haniger is a fine defensive player. He's kind of a do-it-all dude. So that was great. And then, it's like I'm excited for the Giants. That's nice they got him. It wasn't like the star power they needed, but it's solid. Unite the Twins. You've got now both the sidewinding Lopez and the harder throwing. Why did I say Lopez? It's not their name. Rogers. Taylor and Trevor Rogers. But unfortunately, you just lost the gooseneck giraffe guy. Did you look at giraffe? Brandon Belt to the Blue Jays. So only the Blue Jays getting one of those paper teams. But the gain of adding Haniger to a crappy lineup is like you went from below average to maybe average-ish and then lost Belt. And now Belt's not a whopper, and it's easy to find a first baseman who can hit. It's still, you don't want to lose a veteran bat who's popular in your clubhouse. So really bummer of an offseason for the Giants. But it goes on. So now we go to the Correa drama. I'm not a doctor. I don't know that much. I do know he's been on a fantasy team for the past couple of years, and he plays most of the time. He's 6'4", and he had broke his whole leg, had an ankle injury. If you're a big dude with actual ankle problems, like look at Steph Curry, similar size, 6'3", 180 versus like 6'4", 215, similar. Curry's a little smaller. Curry, his ankles hurt all the time. Puts that weight on his ankle. Keeps getting dinged up. Basketball is also more of a contact sport. You have an issue with your ankle in basketball, that's a problem. You have a shortstop who has an ankle injury. I've never heard of a baseball player with a recurring ankle injury. So for me, this is just owners who are scared to shell out the big bucks, scared to lose. But as I always say, 29 teams are going to lose anyways. Don't lose in spring training, free agency. At least go for it. And then if everyone laughs, oh, you spent all that money and didn't win, you at least spend money and get more money back because they do fill seats. So, and then now people think the Twins have a problem. They have to play Luis Ariz, former first overall pick Royce Lewis, who's got tremendous speed. He's a natural shortstop. Jose Miranda. They got Jorge Polanco. And then they've got tweener guy Alex Kirilloff, who people say has great bat control. And like, how do they find spots for all these people? Now the Twins have a problem. Like, that's not a problem. That's amazing to have too many people. Also, if you're saying Correa could get hurt, you literally can field a decent roster without him. Arias is a jack of all trades, can play anywhere. Miranda can't really play anywhere. He's a crappy fielder that they transition between first and third. He's 5'11", righty. So that's Jorge Polanco. I was like, that doesn't seem right for Miranda. He's huge. He's a 6'2", kind of chunkier righty. So he is more of a first baseman type, but you get more value if you can play him at third. So Jorge Polanco, regardless of what's going down, is your second baseman. Correa is the shortstop of the future, of the near time. And then you kind of slot in Miranda at one of the hot corners and move Arias wherever is needed. Now, Arias doesn't have a great throwing arm, so him at third doesn't make as much sense. It'd be ideal if Arias could go to first, Miranda goes to third, Polanco goes to second, and then Correa's at short. Now, Royce Lewis, I think he had Tommy John, actually. He was one of those random hitters who gets that. Maybe he tore his ACL. Anyways, he's on my fantasy team. He was hitting well. He was hitting 300, wasn't stealing a ton of bags. He's warming up to speed. What is possible, again, first overall pick, once he's fully ramped up, you put him or Correa, who's ever the worst defender, at third. So then you have a good shortstop, a good third baseman, and then you kind of just platoon Polanco, Arias, and Miranda at second, first, and DH. It's not like they have that many outfielders. Like Buxton's tremendous, needs to play all the time. They just signed Gallo, so Gallo can play most of the time, but also dude can't hit anyone or lefties to save for his life. Kirillov's also a lefty, and then Nick Gordon's a lefty as well. So when you got a lefty in there, all of their good infielders are either righties or switch hitters. Polanco's a switch hitter. The rest are all righties, and Arias is a lefty, but he's a slap lefty. He's not a lefty who gets like dominated by Chris Sale. Chris Sale throws him his filthy stuff. He's just going to do a little Ichiro on it. So it's kind of perfect because the infield does well against lefties and the outfield does bad against lefties. So if you have Gallo and Kirillov kind of DHing a little bit, then you just let one of the infielders DH. So the Twins are in a good position. Their pitching is really interesting. It's not elite by any means, but they have solid players. They were actually in play. I got into a Twitter debate about this. They were in play for my guy, former Yankee Nathan Eovaldi. So Eovaldi has thrown at least 96.6 miles per hour every year, except for like 2015 and last year. Every year he's thrown around 97, 97 and a half. Last year he's battling a shoulder issue for a long time, fought through it, had like a 3.2 ERA, and then the shoulder issue got worse, and then his numbers got worse. So people are like, oh, he wasn't great. He had like a 3.87 ERA, but he had 3.87 ERA while battling injury, and his fastball velocity was like 95.5. Given a healthy offseason, he's back around that 97. And not only that, he has closer experience. So if you look at their rotation, they have, apparently they have Kenta Maeda as well. I did not realize that. But they didn't even list him there. Their starters are Sonny Gray is probably their ace. Good, very good stuff. Strikeout stuff. Joe Ryan actually went to college in Marin, local guy. Good stuff as well. They've got Dylan Bundy, who's like kind of could be good, could not be good. And then they've got Bailey Ober, who's really fun. And then they also have Chris Paddock. Chris Paddock is a changeup specialist from the Padres, who's really good. So and he's 6'5". I like Paddock. I like Bundy, but those are like Bundy was awful a couple of years. He's also a former top prospect. Was awful a couple of years ago in the Angels, and then bounced back. And they have Tyler Mahle, who's also really good from the Reds. I'm like, who am I missing? So their big three are Sonny Gray, Joe Ryan, and then Mahle. And then Ober's probably their 5. He's 6'9", has decent stuff. And so then you've got, but he's like the 5, like not as high potential, but he's like solid. And then Bundy's like, oh, what's he going to bring it to 4? But then as you see, they've also got Chris Paddock and Kenta Maeda ready to fill in if needed. So they got a solid pitching staff. But if they had Eovaldi, that makes him a little more dynamic. Like then him and Gray are really those people you fear. And then again, you can slide him into the bullpen or like the fireman role come playoffs. And then they have one of the most electric relievers people don't know about, Yohan Duran, throws like 102 mile an hour sinker and filthy splitter, and like EPA, like expected like points added, whatever, above average per like inning. He was number 1 reliever in all of baseball. So dude is filthy. The Twins are actually in a good position for once. And speaking of good position, my Yankees are balling right now. So not only do we retain Judge, retaining players isn't as exciting because it's like that was the team that already lost to the Astros. But speaking of how bad the Giants got shafted, we took the homie Carlos Rodon. And we have, just like every team, we got a bunch of Dominicans. So it's nice. You got a guy who can speak Spanish, communicate with the boys. Severino's English is very limited, but he's very fluent in English. I remember the first time I heard him after his no-hitter. He did an interview. I'm like, oh, that guy did go to North Carolina. Like that, He's got absolutely no accent, so he's going to mix in just fine. And he is a fireball. 6'3", 250, pure. Like, you see him on the mound, he's up there flexing, like, oh, so happy. New York fans are going to boo him after one outing. He's going to look at them and be like, what, bro? Like, see me. And so he's not going to be one of those dudes who's like swayed by the New York. I'm so pumped to have him and Jarrett Cole as a 1-2, like fireballing, one fire personality. Jarrett Cole hasn't been a great big game pitcher, but he's got big game stuff. Like, and you don't have to worry about Jarrett as much when you have him. And then Nestor Cortez and Severino. Cortez doesn't have that fireball stuff. So like people are like, oh, he should have started game one. Like, no, you don't want a guy who's like finessing unless it's Clayton Kershaw, who also has sucked in the playoffs. You just don't want a guy finessing. Like, I'm sorry. You don't have to throw 95. Like, you can throw 92, 93, 94, like Trevor Bauer does now. But I don't want a guy throwing sometimes 89, 90, 91, going up game one against a Chris Sale type. So I'm stoked that we have Cole, Rodon, and then whoever's hotter of Nestor and Severino at the 3 and 4. It's like we lost Taillon, but oh man, we are set up for success. That's exciting. And then with the left fielder situation is a little interesting right now. We lost Benintendi to the White Sox. Yankees Twitter is just irate about the fact that Aaron Hicks could be in a starting role again. Apparently he was hurt as well. Just back in 2017, that's a long time ago, he had a 847 OPS, and then next year, 2018, he was pretty good as well. So I know that's a while ago. He's a switch hitter. He's fast. He can be a good defender. But even if you ignore Hicks, people are talking about Hicks all that much. We got Bader, who was amazing in the playoffs in center, Judge and right, and then Oswaldo Cabrera was kind of the do-it-all gadget guy. If everyone's healthy, he can be our starting left fielder. So Donaldson, who knows about that, at third base. IKF, again, not exciting at shortstop, but we have both Volpe and Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza who are able to play shortstop. They were both already up there for the end of the season, so they should be on the team. So let's just say towards like midway, maybe not opening day roster, midway, we should be starting Cabrera in left, Bader in center, Judge in right, Giancarlo at DH. We re-signed Rizzo to first. We got Gleiber at second. We got Peraza at short. And then Cabrera, if he's not in left, if we sign someone or someone remembers how to hit like Aaron Hicks or someone, then we could put Cabrera at third. And so basically we have Donaldson and Hicks. One of them could remember how to hit. We also have LeMahieu. So LeMahieu could be our starting third baseman. And then Cabrera could go in left. Like, we have options. Unfortunately, what I'm really bummed about is we didn't do anything about catcher. They hit okay during the regular season. You get an okay hitting catcher who's overperforming and then bump into the playoffs, and they're not gonna do well. So what really bummed me out is seeing the A's flip Sean Murphy, who they trade him to the Braves and don't even get William Contreras. William Contreras goes to one of those boring NL Central teams. I think it's the Brewers. Who cares? Anyways, if the A's want to trade a catcher and the Braves have two catchers, they have Darno and Contreras. And Contreras is more of a hitter, so his glove isn't amazing. That's a perfect person for the Yankees to get. They have two defensive-minded catchers. Go get Contreras, who can DH, give Giancarlo a day off. Giancarlo also looked not awful in the outfield last year. He looked the best he's looked as a Yankee. You can put Giancarlo in right, and then Judge can man either of the other two to give someone a day off. So you get that hitting catcher, that'd be great. Speaking of hitting catchers, Gary Sanchez is a free agent. The Yankees have a small ballpark. Catchers who can't hit, go get Gary Sanchez back. Go get Luke Voit back. Hell, even get Didi Gregorius back. I'd rather have him playing out there over IKF. I actually was partial to IKF. I didn't hate him as much as everyone else. The Yankees have all those dudes swinging for the fences. I really like a contact hitter mixed into that lineup. So I was okay having him there, and that's why I love having these young guys, because Oswaldo Cabrera is not swinging for the fences, Peraza is not swinging for the fences, and I don't think Volpe is going to be swinging for the fences either. So when those three dudes are all up and playing, the Yankees are going to be a lot better. It's going to be interesting what they do. I do think they should trade Gleiber, not because like it's important, but like or maybe trade one of the prospects, honestly. Because as you know, prospects cannot pan out. But I do think Gleiber's value was elevated by his 38 home run season with probably juiced balls. So he hasn't been that guy as of late, but he still has that name value. So whatever you can get the most for, I would trade one of those dudes. I would not trade Dominguez, but you have three dudes who play shortstop, and you can't move them over to second because you got Gleiber and LeMahieu. And LeMahieu's old, so he doesn't have the value. So I do think you should trade one of them for a stellar third baseman or left fielder, or hell, go get another amazing pitcher. Trade for a Chris Sale. They didn't sign Bogarts, they didn't sign Betts, and they signed Devers. They're clearly in a bit of a rebuild mode. And that's actually another very interesting one as well. People are giving them a hard time for not signing Devers or for signing Devers over Betts and Bogarts. Well, if you look at it, when Mookie was asking for that monster contract, people really doubted his ability to hit for power for a long time. I did too as well. You don't see many wiry 5'9" power hitters. So yes, everyone has 20/20 vision in hindsight. It didn't work out. Trading Betts didn't seem that dumb to me. His game is prefaced on his speed, his athleticism, and those decline. You get someone like Barry Bonds, who's a power hitter, he aged like fine wine. Even Matt Stairs, softballer, could hit at 38. Mookie Betts' game looked like it was not going to age well. So you give him that long contract. Bryce Harper sounds like a better hitter at 35 than Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts' power swing has still been there in Los Angeles. He actually set a career high in home runs last year, so that didn't work well at all. But then Bogarts, same thing. He's an athletic shortstop, not tremendous power. He's got a good hit tool, but he's 30. Devers is 26, also has an incredible hit tool, and Devers has more power. Devers was like up there in the highest for the average towards the end of the year, and then they swapped. He got a little cold, and Bogarts got hotter, but it's like they're both great hitters. Devers is 4 years younger. I wouldn't give an overweight person. He's not like overweight, but he's not slender. He doesn't look like he'll look good at 37. I would have given him like a 9-year deal, but if it's lose him or give him the deal, give him the deal. So I'm glad the Red Sox didn't retain someone crazy good. Not crazy good, like didn't retain him at a crazy value, but fine for them. And then they did get the Japanese who do comps to Ichiro, so that's exciting for them. And then the Mets, that 1, 2, 3, that's just absolutely crazy. Scherzer, Verlander, the guys who beefed in Detroit, going to try it again under the big lights. And then they got that guy from Japan who sits. He's like Yu Darvish. He's got a really good fastball, but it hasn't really the numbers. It doesn't seem that dominant. But he hit 102 in a start last year, and just like Darvish, he got a filthy splitter. So Darvish came up with the role of being an ace, and this guy gets to learn from Verlander and Scherzer and be the number 3 on a power hitting team. That is just absolutely terrifying. And then speaking of paper teams like the Blue Jays, the Rangers, oh man, they add DeGrom, they add Eovaldi. Those are like 2 injuries waiting to happen. It's so funny, but they don't have to push through injuries or anything. So if they have like an off year, come next year and the year after that, they're going to have those 2, Kumar Rocker and Jack Leader. That's going to be pretty solid. You got Martin Perez and John Gray there as well. I'm a big fan of John Gray. Power stuff from the Rockies. People often do a lot better when they leave cores. Now, the Rangers ballpark is horrible for pitchers as well, but that means it's also good for the pitchers, so for their hitters. So they don't have to have the 3 ERA to win. You can have a 3.8 ERA in Texas and get some run support from Marcus Semien, Corey Seager. So it's exciting what's going on. It's fun that they're not giving up. The Mariners did some big things. They got Teoscar Hernandez from the Blue Jays, but again, same as what I was saying with the Twins. That doesn't mean you don't sign Mitch Haniger. Mitch Haniger doesn't cost a lot, and you have a DH. So how fun would that be to have Mitch Haniger, Teoscar Hernandez, and Julio Rodriguez? So it's a real bummer for me as someone who likes the Mariners. They didn't keep him as well, but their pitching staff is great. Really exciting. The AL West becoming a little more competitive. Cough, cough, A's, you're the worst. So, but yeah, it's a fun offseason. It's fun that the Correa drama has finally ended. And he's back in Minnesota, which is cool because I hate hearing small market teams complain they can't get anyone. So it's fun that he was going to go to the Mets and comes back to Minnesota. So good for Minnesota for getting him. Fun, the drama's over, and excited for the season to start soon.